In a time when dinosaurs walked the earth, when the land was swamped and caves were home, in an age when prized possession was fire, to search for landscapes, men would roam. Then the tribes, they came to steal their fire, and the wolves, they howled into the night as they fought a vicious, angry battle to save the power of warmth and light. Drawn by quest for fire, they searched all through the land. Drawn by quest for fire, discovery of man. And they thought that when the embers died away, that the flame of life had burnt and died. Didn't know the sparks that made the fire were made by rubbing stick and stone. So they plowed through the forest and swamps of danger, and they fought the cannibal tribes and beasts, and searched to find another fire to regain the power of light and heat. Drawn by quest for fire, they searched across the land. Drawn by quest for fire, discovery of man. Many entities are placed under a hypnosis process, a type of memory suspension, so that there is no memory of these attacks when people are taken from their homes after the experiments and manipulations. I've seen incredible things in the plasma field, and I've been provided a galactic history lesson while my body continued to rest and sleep in cryostasis. The problem caused by the reptilians and the Dracos in an attempt to control the craze through this reverse technology program that was triggered by frequency, like a wave that was passed on by resonance to all experiences that had the nanotechnology in their DNA and that communicated through the process of collective consciousness. Their program, the Alpha Draconian Sikaar, the agents of the Sikaar Empire, their program, their digital matrix program, they thought was infallible, and like a virus it woke up and spread silently inside each of the denizens of this planet. In a short time, the reproduction of the Sikaar Empire, the races of the Sikaar Empire, the Greys, dropped drastically, and each group tried to solve this issue of procreation in their own way. They had not programmed any sort of antiviral in this program of theirs. There was no antiviral coding in case they wanted to reverse or at least stabilize the situation. Each race with its capabilities and technologies then began a reproductive process through cloning. But so many changes have taken place in the last millennia that this ended up affecting their biological constitution and their neural network, making it difficult to transfer their consciousness to these bodies, which are like biological robots or avatars. For a long time, they used these clone bodies as biotech robots to transit between universes, but with each jump in space-time, they began to feel the collapse and degradation of their clones, as the pilots in their crafts were a single structure in the symbiotic process. Piloted by mental command, the crafts began to have problems during the space-time jumps, damaging them, and some even falling and crashing, as happened in 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico, and in Kaltenberg, Russia. With this decrease in the offspring of each race, and so many incidents and complications in the clones, those involved decided to arrange a moment of truce between them, between the warring races of the Sikaar Empire, to solve the problem and create a cure for their viral program, because this dragged on for a long time. And the clones no longer brought all the capabilities of their pure races. Far from it. The Sikaar Empire, the scientists of the Sikaar Empire, they tried to solve the problem of this lack, or of this halt to their race's procreation. But the scientists informed them that the programming was a self-protection system established by their scientists when they created the technology, so that they would not surface or be, when they did their space-time jumps and surfaced into these new environments, new planets, they would not become food or be slaves of any race, even though they knew that they could be affected by this trap as well. Because they were in the same situation. They no longer reproduced as before. The Alpha Draconian, the reptilian Dracos, the reptoids no longer were reproducing as they did before, because they had cut off their connection to source through their adherence to the artificial intelligence hive mind. They no longer reproduced as before. Their populations only decreased. The lifespan was also affected, and there were no more resources to roll back the program. If it wasn't for the manipulation of the DNA of a pure race with outside interference that had not yet been contaminated and served for the project of restructuring their races, the solution would be to join forces with the enemies of the Dracos. Then, the members of the elite of the Alpha Draconian elite, they met with their Senate, as they could not warn that they still did not have an immediate solution and that they would be in the hands of their traitors. They asked for a meeting with their scientists, and then opened a channel of communication which took place through holographic technology. A representative of the Draco Alpha Draconian Sikaar Empire Senate participated in this holographic exchange and informed them that there would be no more exchange of technologies and partnerships, as they did not offer anything greater or different than what they had already obtained during centuries of work and experience. Before ending the communication, they also informed that they discovered that they were being betrayed and manipulated. Since then, there has been a war against the control of the reptilians and the Dracos, who ended up increasing their abilities to transit in the minds of the Greys as a type of control and mental possession, taking over the neural network of the Tall Greys, their empire. The Tall Greys, who were more of the light, but still their worker Greys, the little short Greys, had been corrupted by the Alpha Draconians. Their neural network, not only of an individual, but a group of Greys who can communicate in a mind network. For a period of time, the Dracos controlled and submitted any race or group to their domain, and the strongest targets were the races that communicated through collective consciousness, like the Greys. The Greys were certain that there would be another betrayal on the part of the Dracos and the reptilians, the Sikaar Empire, and knowing that they would not fulfill the agreement not to use their technologies and that they would not put them in position of servants, they ended up signing agreements, but with each group creating their own factions, one infiltrating the other like agents running through a project that could fix a problem of their own making. So they started to map the systems where there could be lives that would harbor the experiment, which should happen through a type of hybridization. And some wars were fought in places unimaginable by Earthlings. Galactic wars lasting thousands of years, until they began to send observation probes to our system, to the system of Earth system, the galactic Solaris system, to our system, because we were a primitive race, the humans at that time in development, and that gave the Alpha Draconians possibilities to tamper with our DNA. They could manifest in the DNA of our people at this primitive stage, their characteristics and genetic information, creating a hybrid with a part of its genome without contaminating the body of these primates, us primates in our earliest stages of evolution, so as not to lose the ability to procreate. That's when they began to observe that these primitive human mammals belonging to the third planet of the system still walked crouching and rarely ventured to walk on their legs. They were very late in the process of conscientious experience and did not have a developed brain. All those involved, Greys and reptilians, were very disheartened when they first discovered the development of humans at that time. They didn't want to use humans and that such a primitive beings at that stage of our developments, because they were worried that something could happen leading them to live in this primitive human experience. That if they were to incarnate their consciousness into these human at that particular stage of evolution, that they would be trapped because the pull of the Earth's incarnation law. Everyone was worried about this reincarnation trap. Everyone was worried because the planet had established a magnetic field so strong that beyond imprisoning it forced everyone who had the death of the biological body within the earthly dome to enter the reincarnation wheel. Not only that, but the negative Anunnaki erected their frequency fence, thus further complicating the problem. In the cycle of human primates, they started tracking and sending probes everywhere. But whenever they discovered a race, they were also advanced and already knew the problems they were facing, and wars happened. More galactic wars happened because the Sikaar Empire, the Alpha Draconian reptiloids, reptilians, and the Greys could not connect to Source. They could not realize that they had their problem of cutting themselves off into the fourth dimension and not seeking to stay connected to Source, and thus to the heavenly kingdoms, the kingdoms of the angelics, the Elohim. So this went on for millennia. The Alpha Draconian Sikaar Empire and their little Greys attempting to fool with the DNA structures, genetic tampering with the humans. And they got away with it. They got away with it to an extent. But what they ended up encountering, my dear and esteemed and most noble viewer, if you were to hit that subscribe button and leave this video a thumbs up, I'm going to tell you what happened, and now what the Anunnaki, the negative Anunnaki, with their agents and scientists involved, were surprised by what happened. Because what they didn't realize is that there was somehow an intervention from another dimension that was already observing these primates, humans at our stage of evolution, that changed the ethereal structure of this group of humans. These primary humans were helped to start using fire as one of their survival tools. They became initiates. What truly advanced humankind was these Elohim from the angelic dimensions, from Source, who created our etheric body and created our quest for fire. And the first initiates of the flame, Odin, Krishna, Yeshua, all initiates of the flame, of the great etheric flame of knowledge. Stay tuned, folks. We got more knowledge and more flame coming your way.
Namaste, namaskaram.